Alright, welcome back everyone. Let's rock. So today what we'll do is, let me show this to you. So here's a little turntable on this, and we'll create a small rock video, and not video, but the sculpture itself. So we'll go through the principles, how to use the various brushes. We'll download brushes, customize a little bit things, and just going with the principles. Now this rock is a rock chunk. That means it's sculpted in every direction. The benefit of this is you can rotate it around, multiply it, and basically you can build up a small environment part of it without going into hustle and model everything. Yes, you can 3D scan rocks, but the problem with them, they are not as controlled. It's hard to find, or you can download, but sometimes the resolution is not that what you're looking for. So all in all, you can quickly build up a rock for yourself, even if you have scanned rocks in your inventory. So let me just turn this off, and the first thing is we are starting with a Dynamesh Sphere. Dynamesh Sphere is, in general, we have multiple resolutions. So this is 1.128. We have this 32. Now we don't need a higher resolution, okay? So 64, 32, and let me explain why. So here we are. Now the first thing is, if you are new to ZBrush, it will be a little bit hard, but once you have and you've done a few courses here and there, you will understand that this is the default size, and it's about 2 meters in diameter, and this is the optimal size for sculpting. Now if you know that this is about 2 meters, that's a quite big cubicle, so it's good if you are splitting it up into multiple parts. So if I'm sculpting on some area like here, this could be a size of about 50-60 centimeters or a meter in size. Okay, so this is fairly big chunk. You can enlarge it later on, or you can scale it down and it will still work okay. So if you're sculpting too small or too detailed, that's usually not showing good results when it's scaled up. So it's kind of a mid-range. All right, now the resolution is low because if you have a lower resolution, usually have a little bit better control. So let me just BME. This is Move Elastic. Now Move Elastic brush, you can use any type of brush, but it's a little bit different. It's a little bit softer. So as you see, because it's optimal in size, I can move it around, and I'm just a little bit breaking up the silhouette. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this tiny silhouette, and I have this XYZ. You have on default scene, you have it somewhere here. I will turn on Y, so now rotation is a little bit easier. So I'm just trying to break it a little bit using the Alt key to pull out. And don't forget, we are sculpting, so we are working in 3D. We are working in all directions, okay? Everything is touched and adjusted. So if something is left as a simple thing, that's usually not the best idea. Okay, so here we are. Now we have some lumps and bumps and few other things, which one is great. Now once we have this, we can actually use a BDS DEM standard brush with a larger size and just carve out some areas. So here there may be a chunk. Okay, so that's one part, and as you see, it's really rough in resolution, but this is, first of all, the size of the whole thing is smaller, and you can work a little bit faster, and you also have the luxury to inspire yourself by following the shapes. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to tie yourself too early on. If you have a higher resolution, let me explain what's going on. So you can see how the shape is fairly rounded. It's fairly rounded here. But if I'm duplicating this, Ctrl Shift and D and V and move it around, and I have Dynamesh here, so I'll just crank this up and Q and drag, Shift F, and now it's pretty dense. So of course, if we want to, let me just smooth it out a little bit. So if I'm using the same DEM standard, if I'm start carving in, if I try to separate these main shapes, these main forms, it's not happening the right way. So you can see how this is different. I don't say it's bathroom tiles, but it's flat. It's not as rounded as they are when you are creating it in low resolution. Okay, so that's the purpose. Don't go any higher than necessary. It will break your workflow and it will look, you know, it's not really a rock tile, a rock chunk. So let me hit delete. You will find the same subtool and delete here. I have this button in my custom. So, and BDS, them standard, and walking around and just looking for some parts. So this is one technique. Now I will combine a few techniques here and there, and using the BMV move brush a little bit. You know, don't want to make too round. Don't make it too round here. And I can combine tools like creating flat surfaces. That's the BFA flatten brush. So we can use that to add some flatness here and there, and then the BMV move brush to pull out some more chunks. I'm happy with this one. Moving around, so we have still a surface, and right now I'm not in a hurry, but I don't want to waste too much time on this. I want to show you the principles and show you the tips, and something that's fairly easy to follow. And just carving in this larger area. There will be a larger rock chunk here. Yep, this is looking great. Maybe a little bit of a breakup in here, and BMV moving it around. So I'm using now, at this stage, I'm using the simple brushes. Nothing really special. Let me just pull this out, and using the BDS dam standard. Again, just simply creating a bunch of rocks around. Okay, so it's getting along on the way, and maybe size difference. So I want to create a larger part here. Yes, there we are. Rotating it around constantly, it will help you, especially if your eyes are just cannot recognize the shape. So when you are rotating this around, you will get more information about the overall alignment of the shapes and forms. And we are working on the primary shape. We are looking for the silhouette a little bit. So here, this is untouched, so I definitely need to break this up somewhere, and using maybe the move brush. I'm pulling it around, and yeah, BDS them standard and pushing it back. So this is about 10 minutes into the sculpting, and this is how it looks. Let me just complete the bottom here. This looks too perfected. Let me just refresh it. Okay, I haven't even refreshed it yet. So there we are. Because it's still too circular, I will just use a BMV big move brush and just make it a little bit, pull it around a little bit disproportionate to have that feeling. Okay, so here this is also a little bit too boring, so I will just I try to imagine a cubicle around this. The reason I like to do it is because if we have that, we can rotate and flip and tune this a little bit better when you have to organize and multiply it. That's just my opinion. It's not necessarily true for every parts, but for a chunk like this, it seems to be beneficial, but you can have multiple versions. Okay, so yep, 10 minutes into this, and it's looking fairly nice. Now, what else? What technique we can use? So first of all, it's a good idea to hit a save. I will just hit 9 to quick save automatically, and let me just go and use a curve brush. So Ctrl Shift and slice curve looks promising, so let me just tackle here and there and just clip it. Yep, I'm sorry, not the slice cuff, knife cuff. Okay, that's what we're looking for. And moving around, and yep, cup it here. Okay, so we can use this as well to just set things and just cut a few things around. You can even cut it in this way, so using Alt and make it a little bit angled, and then using the BMV brush and just move things around. Just break it a little bit, so you don't want to create a full flat surface. That's also working great. And as you see, you don't have to keep the edges around. It's just adds and BD as damn standard, and I'm cutting up here. So now we have a little bit more rocky areas in here. You can do the same thing or something similar with a flatten brush, BFA. And yeah, we have further things. So coming up from this, and now I will just do this basic kind of a walkthrough. And I'm looking for the possibility how to find edges to make it more rock-like. Okay, so this is the kind of a second phase. I can combine the knife curve method, so cut off parts and then just smoothing around, and BMV and stretching it. BMV and just stretch this around. You can see it's working nice, and smoothing it out. And then BFA and just flatten the area. So now we have a little bit of a rock part here. Okay, so looking around, if something is too soft, that's my point. I want to create a silhouette where we can recognize that this is a rock. It's not super soft, it's not wear down. Some rocks are like that, but most of the basic rocky surfaces are not. Refresh it, and again BDS, so I'm constantly working on this separations and rock chunks. Okay, I like it this way here. That's looking great. Here at the bottom, I think we can mask it around, invert the mask, and just pull. So I'm going in here and pull. This is another technique that you can use. So mask out an area, invert, and just relocate. If you're holding Alt and clicking on a surface, that will actually pick up the surface normal and align your 3D gizmo. So that's a neat little trick that you can use. And what I like to do is just tilt this around, push in, things like that. So this is one trick I like to use. Now the other trick I like to use with the masking, so I'm just validating the shape. This is looking great as the base here, and I will explain just in a second what other trick I can use with a mask. There are many, but just going one by one. And that is the mask lasso. So let me turn off perspectivity and go to the front, and I'm using just make a correction here. Yeah, I like it better now. And using the mask lasso, I can just grab it like this, or grab a shape like this, or moving around and create a selection like this, and then just switch to a move tool and just moving the part around and just stretch it and maybe displace a little bit. So look at it around. There's a break. Can you see? It's something like a natural break in the rocks. So cue and drag and refresh, and now we have a little bit of a different some unexpected shape. Now here, let me undo this, and the reason I'm doing this is because the resolution looks to be small. So I will update this to about 128. So, and tab and control drag, and this is how it looks. And Control V, just we don't want any crazy subdivision. And don't be fooled, if you press Shift F, you will see that the resolution is actually going higher, but the facets are still there because they are just reprojected for the new mesh. And of course, Dynamesh. If you're new to ZBrush, yeah, you know geometry. We have Dynamesh here, but I like to use it on the custom. That makes things faster. So there we are, and here comes the next part, the lasso. So let me just do it again and show this to you, because now we have a little bit more resolution. That means we have a little bit more control on things, and move it around and just rotate, and maybe rotate in this way as well. So yeah, I like it this way. Control drag and refresh. So now I can go back with the BDS Dem standard and try to focus on the other things. Okay, and as you see, this is now, it's much more sharp. Okay, because we have a lot higher resolution. So don't skip the first step. You cannot really start with this one right away, because it will give you a different results. Okay, so start with 32, and this size, for example, is about 50 centimeter, because it's about 2 meters in diameter. So I'm just separating now the rock parts. Okay, it's loose. You don't have to be super accurate. It's fun. Look for a playlist. Once you know the basics, it's pretty much relaxing. So it's a great warm-up exercise for a bigger project, or if you have just pastime and you want to build your portfolio and you want to create a nice environment. It's just creating some rocks. It's always pretty handy. So there we go. Separate. We're about 16 minutes, so I'll spend another 10 minutes just to clean this up using simply the Dem standard, and then we'll use specialty brushes. Okay, I will show how to use the Orb Brushes. You might heard of these. These are there since ages, for a reason. They're free at Gumroad. Michael Vicente is the author of those brushes, and he runs by the name Orb. And those are really cool little brushes. They're not super different than the standard brushes, did with some tweaks, but they are nicely organized, and they have the good differences. So now I'm just looking around, breaking these things apart. Then I will make them more sharp. But right now these are still like bumpy things. Okay, it's not the end, because we'll use the flattened brushes and specialty brushes for tuning the shapes. But right now I'm working on separation. I want to see where the line is going. Every direction, every side must be inspected and carefully checked. Okay, so there we go. This is a nice chunk. A lot of things going on. Okay, so now let's talk about the Orb Brushes. So the Orb Brushes, let me just go to the Orb Pack, and here's the tab. So if you type in and Google Orb Brush Gumroad, you will get to this. This is the very first hit, and this is the page, and you can just hit I want this, and you can download. And of course, if you wish, you can donate some money to the account, which one is a nice move. All right, so what you have in the package, I have already downloaded the package. Here's the Orb Brush, and these are the contents you have in the package. And the way to install brushes is working this way. So depending on the installation of ZBrush, you will have it in a Pixologic folder or Maxim folder. If you are an old timer, you have in a Pixologic folder. So you just look for the ZBrush 222, or according to your version. So let me go in here and explain what's going on. We have ZBrushes and we have data brushes. So ZBrushes are the lightbox brushes. So brush and lightbox, and these are the ZBrushes, and we have Orb here. So this is the folder. Okay, so let me go back, brushes, and you have O for Orb, and we have the things here. What you download, this is basically a compressed file. You just have to uncompress it and place the folder into here, and it will load in the Lightbox. Something else, if you want to permanently use brushes all the time, so we want to get back those, then you are using the Z data folder, and in the Z data folder you have the brush presets, and these brushes are actually appearing here. So let me just press B, and these are the brushes are appearing here. Now the main difference is these are loaded all the time. So if you want to use your custom user interface, let me just make this simple trick. So Z data, going back to the ZBrush and brushes, and O and Orb Brush, and we have cracks 2, which one I like a lot. So this is Orb cracks 2. Control C, and ZBrush, Z data, brush presets, and Control V, and paste Orb cracks. So now it's not loaded automatically, I think. We'll just hit save and save it myself, and there we go. Just a second. So once you have, I just restarted, but if you press B, it will load your brushes. And actually, if you just press O, this is the Orb Brush only, and it will switch to the Orb Brush, because I have only one Orb Brush loaded here. So this is the Orb Cracks brush. And if you have this in the inventory as is, and the data inventory, you can enable customize. You can go to brush, use the Orb Brush, drag and drop it somewhere here, or I will place it now here. And if you save master configuration, so Ctrl Shift in I, then when you load back up, it will be here. If you are just simply using Lightbox and brushes and Orb and use the cracks 2, that or the edge protect, flatten, which one is a nice thing as well, that even if you place it here, it will be temporary, so it won't load back again automatically. All right, so now we have these two brushes, and I will just to make things a little bit easier, I will just enable customize brush and Orb flat, because this is really useful. So now I can switch between those, and using the cracks, it's a little bit different. As you see, it's wider slightly as the dam standard. It's a little bit more suitable for the rocks itself. Okay, so that's a good move to use. And here's the Orb flatten, which one is really nice to explore the edges around. Okay, so I'm just looking for some rocky areas, cleaning this up. All right, not bad for this is pretty neat. If you make it once, you can go inside as you see. So if you have a little bit brush size, so if you do a rock like this, you can multiply it. It's really good to have. If you have a couple, you can build up crazy things. Especially if you have to design, for example, a scene that's not, you're not sold yet. You're not. You're still in the concepting phase and consulting and developing ideas. It's a lifesaver to have things like this, because they're so multi-purpose. Control drag, refresh some areas, and if you get lost, always look for the face, and just a little bit bigger. It works differently than the flatten brush or trim brush. It's basically a kind of a trim brush, but it has some nice touches here and there, so it works around the edges. Pretty cool. And just have it. Okay, just looking around. I'm using this information, so as you see, that's coming from the 32 resolution. That information is really neat, because you know that, okay, that surface is not, it's quite raw. It was not touched and not you know, edited or it was not corrected in any ways. Okay, looking for the silhouette. It's good here and there. Well, maybe I want to use a BMV brush and just break this apart a little bit more to add a more like a chunk. Yep. So looking around. So don't want to make it look too round. That's the reason I try to break it up. Okay, good. Now going back to the orb flat and just working it around. Okay, just looking for, and basically you can actually build up armor with this. Very similar technique. You can build a mech robot with the same principles. Okay, and then just retopologize it. Many studios using that technique. So they're sculpting the hard surface models with these simple tools and then just retopologizing. Which one is, yep, it's meticulous, but you have the creative freedom, and you know, creative freedom is making the money. That's what making it exciting, and that's what making people engaged and looking nice to a project. Okay, so I think here should be a split or something. So moving it around. Okay, so we have the rough set. Just smoothing it out a bit. And everything here just is too flat. It was not edited. Okay, and maybe using the crack. And that's just looking nicely done. Okay, all right, so what else do we have now? We can increase the resolution a bit now. So this is how it looks, and the resolution I will increase it to 512, Shift F and Control Drag, and do it now. Okay, so now it's fairly high in resolution. It's about 1 million, which one is decent. Okay, so 1 million will be fine to add what we're looking for. Now when we have something like this, we can add more details and create more interesting stuff. For example, looking for the brushes, and we have the other brushes like trim brushes. So let me look for these trim brushes. There's a trim smooth border, and this is a nice one. So what it does, it's easy to chipping away and create some rocky edges around. Okay, so that adds these broken, little bit chipping edges. Smooth, it's fairly hard, and it works nicely along the edge, so you can just clip those. Sometimes these are sharp, sometimes these are not, and as you see, this is more like a natural kind of rock looking edge when you're dealing with this. So let me just clean this up and walking through on the areas. I'm doing it very rough. Of course, you can spend more time on it, but right now it's mostly a tutorial and not, you know, a super duper spend 3 hours with me to polish this whole rock around. But you see the concept here, so I will just quickly go around and look for these opportunities to clean up areas. Yep, it's looking great here, chipping away some of the edges. The larger the brush size, the sample will be a little bit better. I'm just trying to break this. Cool. So this is a trim smooth. And actually this brush texture, when it breaks the surface like this, is also nice. Okay, here. And because these edges, if you are just pulling them out, it's not that believable that you have some super, it's not a crystal, okay? So this is what I want to tell you, that this is not a crystal. So these edges are somewhat damaged or broken, or, you know, not as clean cut as, you know, a mechanical surface or machined something. So there's some imperfections coming from the nature of the rock itself. So the edge, and we can combine with the orb flat. So orb flat combination, look for the surface, clean it up with the orb flat, and once you have that cleaned up with the orb flat, then you can go with the trim. So now, just to have it a little bit easier, we can enable customize still on. So I will just drop it to trim and leave it here. Even if you are not saving the user interface, it's good to have for these sessions. It's good to have the brush at hand. So because it has no hotkey by default, so it's a little bit easier. Oh, I like this shape here. Looks good. I will do something similar, like this edgy stuff, and I will also cut in here. Oh, that's too much. Maybe from this direction. Yeah, breaking it. Good. Just a quick view. Okay, how we do. Good. This angle looks nice. I don't like this one. Let me just drop it. Okay, so we are 30 minutes into this, and the basic shapes are pretty much there. Bottom one, these edges needs to be a little bit more cleaned up. Working. That's it. Smoothing it around. Okay. I don't think this one is believable, so let me just smooth it. Break it. There we go. So there we go. And moving back to the main. Okay, so this is the main chunk. All right. Looking for the silhouette. The silhouette is broken. So every area we see a major break that creates this feeling of having rocks in there. Okay, so that's the first part, and let me progress towards. Okay, so the next brush is the Mallet brush. Where are these Mallet brushes? So here we are, Mallet, and we have the Mallet Fast 2. So as you see in the brush, it chips away the surface. So let me show this. This is what it does. It's easily breaking up the surface, which one is really nice as a rock texture. Now, to make things a little bit more fun, what you can do is you can use it as is. So walking around and chipping the areas, so you can wear down the rock surface. That's one thing. But sometimes it's hard to have to keep the control over it because it can be too strong. So for that, we can use thick skin. So here's thick skin. You can enable thick skin and set the thick skin to fairly low. So that means like this, it's 5, as you see. I can't go deeper than this. Okay. When I'm using Alt, I'm elevating. When I'm using the simple thing, it's just keeping it this way. So this is a really neat way to alter the whole thing. I will set it to about 10 maybe. That gives me the range to fine-tune things. Now, before we do those kind of details, what you see here, let me just roll back a bit at the history and see and show it to what we have already. So we started somewhere here. I made a copy, and this is why the very first things are not there. But as you see, by defining the rocky areas a little bit more, these are coming more and more exact, more and more sharp in many ways. Okay, so that's basically the process. All right, now going back and look for thick skin. It's set to 5. I will set it to 10. And the mallet itself is great. I will just make it a little bit more crazy using a spray brush. So this is what it does. It just creates this sprayed effect. Now if we want, you can actually combine it with another type of thing. So depending on the rocks you're working, it's good for corrugated metal or rusted and things like that, chips. That also works fine. Now I'll just leave this square and maybe the strength reduce a little bit, and just breaking this part away. So I'm just wearing down some areas like this. Okay, wearing down. I can hold Alt to add back some of the edges, so we can create this kind of chipped areas. So wear down, and going back to the edge a little bit, wear down some areas, and going back and leave it as it is, and just wear it down. So that's kind of a rocky surface, and we can still add more stuff to this. But right now I'm just looking for a basic texture, basically, for the rocks. A kind of rough texture. It has like layered effect. Okay. Looking around for ideas. Now this rock, you don't necessarily have to follow a kind of a strategy to depict the natural erosion of the rock, because this rock will be rotated and flipped around. But if you have a rock that's standing like a statue and you have the top wearing down, then you have to make sure that the cracks and everything is flowing the structure in a good way. And I'm just breaking this up and just doing this back. Okay, it's coming along. As you see, you don't necessarily have to touch everything. It is just like here and there, just to distribute the info. Okay, so going on. So what's going on? Perfect. And just looking around. And there we go. Okay. So this is about thick skin, which one is it's very neat. It's easy to use. You're not destroying your shapes by, even if you're using a stronger brush like this, and you can build up and remove just by this. So thick skin is great for that. Now what I see that these areas are still not sharp enough. We have a high resolution, but these insides are not as good. So let me turn off thick skin and use the orb brushes, the orb crack, and the other parts to clean. Now this part is a little bit slower, so we are about 40 minutes in it, and right now I'm just looking for and clean this up and trying to make it clean going in. As you see, you don't necessarily have to make it straight, so you can explore areas like these cracks are going zigzag or things like that. So moving around, maybe the brush size is a little bit bigger, so I'm just cracking this up and pushing this in. The brush, now it's a matte cap. You can switch to fast shader. It's a little bit different. It will give you a different impression. It's a good idea to switch between shaders. This is a metal, so sometimes that helps a lot to see highlights in dark areas. You can use this one. This makes it more rock-like looking, but it would be hard. So I think for sculpting, it's fast shader or the matte cap gray. These are great in general. So if you can zoom out and do the work that way. So if you zoom in, you don't see all the necessary details you have to see. The overall appearance. So overall appearance is greater than the details you have in many cases. Okay, so try to make it interesting. Look for areas you can improve. You don't need to stick at one area and just spend all the time there. Just look for, maybe here there will be a little bit more cavity. Can you see? So I will go deeper, dig deeper here, and it generates a shadow. Maybe I want to see something like this here as well. A little bit more deeper, more separation in the rocks to have a better feeling of the chunks. These are also a little bit melted and welded together. So right now I will just form up a cavity in here. Just again breaking the line. Try to avoid to have it a straight line, because it's not rock-like. Okay, it's not constructed. This should be kind of natural by the compression of the forces and all things. So going in here again a little bit deeper, and let me just use the Orb Flat Edge Protect and use it to small size. And actually some cases you can go in and it generates a nice clean edge. Not in here. Yeah, it pulls in some of the edges. So sometimes it creates an interesting effect for you depending on the angle that you're starting. Yeah, so this edge, for example, I like that one. You don't have to use it everywhere, but in certain areas, when you just touch it, highlight, it can generate a nice crisp edge around, and then you can move on and see other surfaces like this here. A little bit of an edge, something that's hard to do with Dam Standard or similar brushes. You see, it's really neat and nice. Okay, so yeah, that's why we like it. That's one of the reasons why we like it. Okay, good. Going in. Okay, that's it. Looking for all the angles. So this one looks good. This one's looking good. Here, I think here we should go deeper. So again, the Orb Slash, using the large one, and it's just going in. If the larger the brush is, the deeper you can go. Here, don't forget it's not built wall, so there's no gap. This should be kind of sharp in here. And now we are going deeper with this. Okay. Right. Good. Just smoothing things around. Okay, that's neat. There we go. So you can spend a whole lot of time on this. The goal here is just have a good rough at this stage. So there should be another hour to clean and polish this. But right now this is looking fine. Okay. Now this is the Orb Crack. We have Orb Slashes, for example. So let me just open the light box and see for myself. Okay, come on guys. Tool brushes and Orb Slash and line, and this is Slash 2. Which one is nice? So let me go in here and show this. And I was not switching, so excuse me. Orb Slash 2, loaded it, and that's kind of a little bit of an edge is running across. Okay, so you can use in a creative way. Don't forget to rotate things around. Okay, don't just use it statically. And of course, it's great to break some of the lights silhouettes. So we have now a little bit of a cracks here and there. In some areas you can just create multiple pieces and just moving around if you wish. Well, I think it's too much, but maybe here. Yeah, that's good if I place it there. That's it. And also you can use it as kind of an edge maker. So inside the area, pulling it out. Right now the depth is not that big, so I can emphasize that. Okay, so that's also helping us to have a little bit of a look. Okay, so that's nice. What else should we do? Now, if you want to go into some deeper areas, I'm just showing an example because time is always in count. So when we have these flattened brush, you can just go into some details, for example here, and just manually try to make it as interesting as possible. And using the BMV brush, that's also just breaking this a little bit apart, and then just going back to the orb cracks and start cracking it up in this area. Try to follow what you have created. So now this is, for example, this is kind of a secondary shape that's coming from the chunk. So now this is breaking it up, and I'm using a mask now, masking this area out, and inverting the mask and using the move and alt and tap on the model, and now I can just push this a little bit back, rotate a little bit around. So in control drag, and just using the flat brush and chip it away. So now this is kind of a little bit of a separation. This adds a little bit of a separation. I'm pushing this down slightly, wearing down the edge here, and using the trim, and just keeping this edge a little bit chipped away. So things like that, you can create a lot here and there. For example, when you recognize it, okay, this is the shape, how you can further detail it. So like, yeah, okay, we have a crack here, but what else we have? We have maybe here a step. So the crack may go up here and just separates this part. Okay, so we can use a BCT clay 2 brush and just add a little bit more, building this up, adding some volume here, and then just taking this away from here, and then just going to the flat area and just flattening out, maybe flatten this out, and now we have that kind of a detail. You can also use the crack brushes and use the Alt key and emphasize an edge. So if it's necessary, that also goes nice and well. So that's kind of an endless process. You don't really want to do this all day long, but it's a great experiment, and usually it's you can go wrong. If something is off, you can just start over and create a different piece. Okay, so this is what I do like. I think it's fine for now, and here's something that we can do to make things up, spice things up a little bit. So using the brushes, the Orb brushes, and what I'm looking for is the rock noise. Now this is really good. Also, these are quite interesting. So before I do this, let me go in here and use the rubble and load up the rubble, and just taking this here. It just adds a little bit of an extra rock pad on it. Okay. Sometimes it's really neat to have it around the edges, because it just adds the illusion of having more separations like this. Okay, so I'm just looking around where to put these. Don't forget about bottom. And yeah, you can also make it work in a negative way. So sometimes that's also interesting. Maybe it's just too sharp, so I will just reduce some of the edges, but that's kind of a chipping. All right, so be creative with it. And okay, where should we go? Maybe here. Oh yeah, that's an orientation. This one. Okay, right. So now we have another set of various stuff, and then going back again to the orb brushes, and here we go. We have this rock detail, which one is a kind of a bigger rock detail. Now we have a couple of flat surfaces here and there. Let me increase the strength. Oh, not that much, and see what it does. Okay, 30. Yeah, so it generates that's kind of a rocky stuff, and I'm using the Alt key to suppress, moving it around. There we go, and Alt key could be used. All right, so just a little bit of a separation and detail. Okay, it's not the best detail for everything. What I like a little bit better, and let me show this, and I will be kind of done with the rough thing, is that this is rock noise. Okay, so orb rock noise, and what it does, it's just really pulls the surface. It's really creates a nice rocky look. Okay, and you can back and forth, but it just this simple touch is creating nice thing. Use it lightly. Okay, use it lightly, and we are still in Dynamesh. So if you want to go with a better details, you have to go and use the zero measure to clean this up. Okay, so this is basically a rough chunk, and let me quickly show you this. If I'm Ctrl Shift D and moving this around, and let me just reset whole things, and you can rotate this, scale it up a little bit, and just build up a large area in no time. Okay, so then you have a lot at hands. Okay, so let me just delete this, and let me delete this one as well. So here we are. This is our model, and it's time to start painting, rebuild this. Okay, so we have about 1 million, and that will be the next part.